Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Are you seeing my video for the first time? Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share if you haven't done so. So let's glam up this beautiful client together. So first thing first, for every makeup, always start by cleaning the face. So I use my Adventure, my slide cleansing water. The next thing to do is to hydrate the skin, right? You want your makeup to last longer all day, so we have to hydrate to keep the skin moist. So I use my Moist Essence moisturizer. So the next thing, as you can see, is to prime the face, right? So I'm using my V Beauty mattifying primer. So I just apply it all over the face, except the under eye, right? We want our makeup to last longer, so we have to prime the face, hydrate the face, right? So after that, I lock in everything using my Kiss Beauty setting spray. So moving on to foundation, I use my Avon foundation. So after applying it on the skin, right, I just go in with my very soft and damp beauty sponge. When I say soft and damp, do you know the meaning of damp? That means you should make it wet, but when you compress it, water should not come out from it, right? Yeah. So that is it. You make your beauty sponge damp for easy blending. If you use dry beauty sponge, you will not blend well. So you have to make it damp. Get it? So I just press in. I see I don't scrub, right? I'm just patting gently into her skin, patting gently, moving uniformly from one section to the other. So the next thing is to contour the face. We want to give that face more definition, right? So we are contouring underneath the cheekbone, the temple. Can you see that point? That's the temple, right? Contour underneath the cheekbone, the temple. Then I'm using the same side of that beauty sponge which I use in blending the foundation to blend the contour. Can you see I'm using the same side, right? So after contouring, the next thing we want to give the face some warmness, and we'll go in with our blush, right? So I'm using this orange shade. So for my first skin client, I always use orange shade. Sometimes I use pink. So I use orange shade. I apply around the cheekbone. So I blend moving from the apple of the cheek towards the temple. So moving on to highlighter, right? We don't want the face to have the same like shade. So we have the areas that needs to be highlighted. Where are those areas? The T-zone, that is underneath the cheekbone, the forehead, the chin, right? The bridge of the nose. So as you can see, I first of all went in with my 2 shade lighter highlighter, which is my Avon highlighter. Then I go in again with 1 shade lighter. Can you see? So to blend it, I'm using my beauty sponge, a clean section of my beauty sponge, not the section I use in blending foundation, a clean section. So I'm just blending, moving towards the outer corner of the eye. So after blending, I make sure I place my beauty sponge on that line that's the highlighter and the blush, to make sure there is no demarcation, right? Yeah, that is it. So after doing so, I just go in with my nose contour. So I'm using my foundation. Now I'm not using 2 shades darker than my skin. I'm using 1 shade darker. We don't want the nose to be looking too black. You get it? So we just want that nose to have more definition, to look snatched and smaller and pointed. Then I use the side which I use in blending my another section again to blend. Then after that, I lock in everything, use my Kiss Beauty setting spray. So to set the face, that's the next step, setting. I use my Miracle setting powder in the shade ginger. Can you see? I just pat gently around all the highlight. We are setting all the highlighted area, the under eye, the chin, the bridge of the nose, the forehead, right? We are setting it. So to give that area more definition, I'll still go in with my lighter shade from my V Beauty powder palette, yeah, right? So if you have so I'm just pressing. I'm using that same beauty sponge, the dam. If you have a powder puff, you could use your powder puff. It's still fine, right? That's it. So set the highlighted area I'm using my powder. Are you seeing the way I'm using my big fluffy brush? I'm going in with my powder for my V Beauty powder palette, which is equivalent to her skin tone, right? So I just pat gently, set all the blank spaces. Do you know what I mean by the blank spaces? Those area which has not been highlighted, right? The contour region, the blush region. So I just go in with my powder. So for makeup, everything that you do cream, you have to go dry. So as you can see, at that point I went in with my contour, which I use my powder still from my powder palette, which is 2 shades darker than her skin. So I just did the contour. That's underneath the cheekbone, the bridge of the nose, no, the side of the nose, sorry. Underneath the cheekbone, the side of the nose, the temple, right? Yeah, so to melt down that powder effect, can you see I'm using my Kids Beauty setting spray. So setting spray, that's for setting spray, you use setting spray during the makeup, right? That is what mix your makeup first of all. Then it helps to reduce that powder effect. You don't want that your face to be looking powdery, dusty, or you get it. Yeah. So for baking, I use my Miracle setting powder. Again, still in the shade ginger and reverse contour. I use my powder from my powder palette, right? So moving on straight to brows, I always start by laying down my hair, right? We don't want the hair to be looking hanging. She never wanted me to like trim her brows, so always make sure you use your brows gel, right? To make sure you put the hair in order, the brows hair in order. So after that, I go in with my Miracle setting powder again to make sure there's no moisture around that area. Then to outline my brows, I'm using my brows pomade, black, and I just mix a little of the brown black to the brown to give a dark brown shade. So then I use the tips of my inside and those angle brush, my well precise angle brush, to just outline the brows. Can you see when I'm outlining, as I'm getting towards the end, I just tilt a little bit downward. I do the same thing for the upper section of the brows. Can you see? So after outlining, I'm going to use the excess of the brows gel to just give tiny hair-like strokes, starting from the outer corner of the eye, right? Starting from the outer corner, can you see? I'm just producing tiny hair-like stroke around the outer end of the brows. Yeah. So after doing so, moving on to filling the beginning, I'm using my well sharpened and pointed Davis pencil in the shade 018. Can you see? I'm producing tiny hair-like stroke, right? Just tiny, making sure that the which look like hair, right? They are not too close to each other because we want it to look very natural. So just produce tiny hair like stroke and make sure that while doing so, don't touch one spot twice, right? As you touch one spot, go to the next section. Even if it doesn't show, go to the next section. We don't want it to be looking too pigmented. If not, if it's looking too pigmented, you will not have that natural effect. Now to conceal the brows, I'm using two things. I'm using my foundation, which is 1 shade darker than her skin. Then I'm using my Avon concealer. So can you see the point where I started? I started with my lighter shade, which is my Avon concealer, because we want that area around the brow bone to be highlighted, right? So I use the lighter shade concealer. Then the beginning of the brows, always use a darker shade. You could use 2 shades darker, you could use 1 shade darker. So I use 1 shade darker because we want that area to have that beginning, to have some warmness and to match the contour, right? We want it to match the contour and we don't want harsh line. So I just use the tips of my angle brush to do so. Then immediately I'm done, I use my fluffy brush to blend in the concealer. We don't want to leave that area looking so messy, right? Can you see? Beginning, I'm still going in 1 shade darker. So I'm doing the same thing for the upper section. Now for the upper section, I'm using the shade which I use for the beginning of the brows. Can you see? Yeah, I'm using the shade which I use for the beginning of the brows. That is the 1 shade darker foundation. We don't want the upper section is supposed to be like that. We don't want harsh line. You don't want concealer to be looking whitish around that area, so we use one shade darker. So immediately we are done, we blend in the excess foundation or concealer, right? So moving on, we said everything cream or wet has to go dry. So I'll go in with my powder from my V Beauty powder palette, which is exactly like the shades I use in concealing. So I'm starting with the lighter section. I just apply my powder on it to make sure there is no moisture. Every moisture is absorbed. Right, we want that area to be looking matte and dry. So for the beginning, I'm going in with my one shade darker powder again, still from my powder palette. I do the same thing for the upper section. So to line her eyes, I'm using my black shade from my KR Brows Gel. So I just start by producing something like a triangle around the outer corner of the eye. So as I'm moving towards the inner corner, it's becoming thinner, thinner, and thinner. Can you see? Yeah, that is it. So you have to do exactly like I'm doing, right? So starting from the outer corner, you do something like a triangle, create something like a line, then try to link it together to form something like a triangle. As you're moving towards the inner corner, it's getting thinner, right? So for the waterline, I'm still using my angle brush and I'm using the black brows pomade. So after that, I just smooth out around the under eye using my orange eyeshadow. Sorry guys, for eyeshadow, I created another video for that. I never wanted this video to be too long, so you check my next video, right, for eyeshadow tutorial. Thank you. Then now I'm dusting off my. So while we are done with eyeshadow, you have to use your fan brush, or you can use any fluffy brush to dust off the excess eyeshadow fallout, right? We don't want to leave it there to mess up our makeup. That's why we apply ours to bake. We bake to make sure our fallout is taken off, right? It's easily taken off, and moisture around the under eyes is easily absorbed. So for the lips, I started by outlining the lips using the brown shade of my my brows pomade, not the black. You know, it comes in the brows pomade comes 2 in 1, brown and black. So I'm using the brown shade, outline the lips. Her lips are looking full, so I don't go right like above, right? So I just try to follow the line, her lip line. So after that, I just blend in to make sure there is no harsh line. She said she wanted a pink lip, so I go with this not too pink. I go in with this pink lip stain from Adventure. So after blending, I go in now with this other shade, this other new shade from Avon Cosmetics. So after applying it, I just blend the edges. That is the line separating the pink shade and the brown shade, right? To make sure there is no harsh line. I do the same thing for the upper section. We don't want any harsh line, right? So guys, hope you try this and let me know at the comment section if you have any challenge. Then moving on to lashes, I use I use my lashes. I just after apply my glue, I just start placing my lashes from the outer corner of the eye. So once I place around the outer corner of the eye, right, I hold it for like I count 5 seconds for it to stick. Then once it stick, after 5 seconds, I just carry it and just link it and place on the other section. So for blush, I'm going in with my orange shade from my exclusive blush palette. Can you see where I'm applying it? I always leave my blush, my powder blush, and apply it towards the end. So I just apply on the cheek. For blush, we apply the blush on the cheek. That's what we do. So after applying my blush, to dust up the excess eyeshadow, then the excess setting powder around the under eye, I use my small fluffy and big fluffy brush. Small fluffy for area which are just precise, right? So after dusting it up, I melt down the powder effect again using my Kiss Beauty setting spray, right? Then I go in with my mascara, leave the mascara to dry up. So for the lip again, I still added a little bit of a nude shade from Adventure, right? And ask her to smile. Then I blend I just blend everything before moving on to my lip gloss. So for lip gloss, I use my clear lip gloss from Adventure, right? This lip gloss is very nice. So I go in with my clear lip gloss from Adventure. Before I apply my lip gloss, I first of all apply my highlighter. That's my bronzer. So I just apply on the cheek. That is the point which separate the blush and the highlighter. Can you see? That is where I apply. There is my small fluffy brush, very fluffy brush to do so, right? So I use my Blossom Makeup highlighter palette. So after that, I use my big fan brush to just blend it out. Then I go in now with my clear lip gloss, like I mentioned earlier, from Adventure. We want that lip to have shine, some glow, right? That's why we do so. So I'm going with my clear lip gloss. So to lock and seal the makeup, I use my Sopro Silk Spray. This is what the fix spray is what holds the makeup, like it keeps the makeup, right? Yeah. So guys, this is a final look. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Bye guys.